This is Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast, with your hosts, Brandon Spinner and Michael Burns. And welcome into Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. I am Brandon. That is Michael. This is our Week 19 Power Rankings episode, which is brought to you by 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company. Don't forget to use that promo code BNB for 10% off your order. That is all whiskey and spirits on their website, as well as any additional items. We're talking hats, barrels, maybe a table, or if you want maple syrup honey. Michael was doing his Christmas shopping last week on 10th Mountain.
That's right.
.com. So that's 10thwhiskey.com. Go to their shop right there and you can get 10% off your order with promo code BNB. Michael Burns, another week of great baseball. How was your weekend, man?
I was doing pretty well. I played baseball Friday night. We had a wave of severe thunderstorms come in this afternoon, ruining my pool plans. And I came home to find another one of my shingles on my driveway. So that's the third storm in a row I've had some kind of damage.
Well, hopefully we can figure that out for you. And hopefully insurance will help you out on that one. Well, we can't help you with insurance, but we can help you with bourbon and baseball. This week's Power Rankings episode. This is week 19. I think there's a big shakeup in the top 10 between the two of us. I haven't looked at yours, and I don't know if you've looked at mine, but let's jump right into it. Michael Burns, who is your 10th team this week?
My 10th team, I've got the Philadelphia Phillies, who have moved into second place in the NL East. Since in the last 15 days, they've got the ninth most hits, fourth in runs scored, doubles. Trey Turner seems like he's turning it on a little bit, maybe. But they've got a guy who was supposed to be a platoon kind of guy, fourth outfielder, Johan Rojas. He's now playing primary center fielder for him, hitting .326 since Brandon Marsh went out. Mm-hmm. So the kid's stepping up and doing well. Bohm and Harper both have OPSs near 1,000. So the Phillies are starting to pick it up.
Yeah, and Kyle Schwarber hasn't been great as of late, but he got a big home run on Sunday. My 10th team is a new team to my top 10 from the first time we did these power rankings back in April. The Chicago Cubs are my 10th team, 7-3 in their last 10. They make a 6-team jump. That's because they went 5-2 this week, taking 3 out of 4 versus Cincinnati, 2 out of 3 versus the best team in the NL. But here's the thing. The Cubs have the plus 75 run differential. That's third best in the NL. 16-7 since the All-Star break, 6 straight series wins, 164 runs since the All-Star break. That is more than any other team by 40 runs. Oh, and since July 1st, they're 20-12, which is the best record in the National League, and they have the 5th most runs this entire season and the 4th best OBP. The Chicago Cubs finally looking like a team that could make some waves. They are now in the wild card as of Sunday evening. They are now in my top 10. Michael Burns, number 9. Who is your number 9 team?
So number 9 might be a little bit of a stunner, but I've got the Seattle Mariners at number 9, jumping 9 spots. The Seattle Mariners here are now in third place as the Angels have lost 6 in a row and have not won a game since the MLB Trade Deadline. But Seattle's won 5 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Moving up as their starting pitching, Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo. I'm sorry, not Logan Gilbert. George Kirby and Luis Castillo have done well in the last 15 days.
Can I ask you where that second I in Castillo comes from?
Castillo?
Yeah, there's no I-O at the end.
Castillo?
You can never... It's Castillo.
You want to know how to pronounce people's names, come to the Barrels and Barrels, and you'll be learned today.
But yeah, go ahead. Luis Castillo and George Kirby.
22 strikeouts. 22
you said
strikeouts.
It again.
Ready? You ready?
Yes.
Take 3. Luis Castillo, 22 strikeouts in his last 19 innings, and George Kirby, 21 strikeouts in his last 16. Those are just 2 of 4 great starters in that rotation. Julio Rodriguez and the big dumper hit 4 home runs in the last 7 days. They're rolling. Watch out for the Seattle Mariners. I don't think they really catch Houston or Texas in the division, but the wild card, we'll see.
My number 9 team is also the Seattle Mariners. They jump up 5 spots in my rankings. So last week I had them in 12th. So they jumped up 4 this week. Maybe 3. My math is not great. Up 3. I looked at the wrong thing. Their winning streak is 5, as Michael mentioned. 6-1 last week. They went 2-1 versus the Red Sox. A 4-game sweep on the road versus the Angels. 22-10 since July 1st. That is the best record in baseball, tied with the Baltimore Orioles since that span. A plus 47 run differential. Their starters ERA is 7th best in baseball this year. Their bullpen ERA is 2nd best in baseball, and they just traded away their closer, and their bullpen still is fantastic. They've played very well, 60-52, 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. They're playing very, very well as of late, 8-2, one of the hotter teams in baseball. So they jump up 3 spots from 12th to 9th in my power rankings. So Michael Burns, who's your 8th team?
The 8th team, I have the Chicago Cubs. For all the reasons that you stated moving up, they've got, since July 1st, like you said, they're the best, but even since like June, they have the 3rd best record in baseball. They just traded for arguably the best third baseman in the NL, 2nd best in MLB behind Jose Ramirez. I mean, the timing of that trade, we were arguing, hey, they should have traded for him yesterday. But the timing for him to come in and the Cubs, with the schedule they had of the Reds and then the Braves, Candy just rolled. And then Cody freaking Bellinger, looking like Cody freaking Bellinger of 2019?
MVP Cody Bellinger, yeah.
He's already got the WAR he did of his first 2 years of his season as of August 6th here. So that's what I've got. I've got the Cubs at 8, rolling up 9 spots.
So my 8th team was your 10th team, and that is the Philadelphia Phillies. I had them 9th last week. They are up to 8th this week, up 1 spot. They went 5-2 this week, taking 3 out of 4 versus the Marlins, 2 out of 3 from the Royals. And the Royals were actually a hot team coming into this series. The Royals won 7 in a row before the Phillies beat them in the final 2 games. So a big series win. You mentioned Trey Turner coming around. Kyle Schwarber maybe starting to heat up. Nick Castellanos has played very well this year. Bryce Harper, Alec Bowman, Bryson Stott had a huge home run today. Defensively, they're playing better. They've got the best WAR among starting pitchers in all of baseball this year.
Really?
So their starting pitcher staff has been fantastic as well. So the Philadelphia Phillies, 61-51 in 8th in my power rankings. So now we move to 7. Michael Burns, who's in 7th.
I have the Toronto Blue Jays in 7th. They went 6-4 in the last 10 games there, or in the last week, on a 3-game winning streak. They swept the Boston Red Sox, real heartbreakers there, you could say. The Red Sox just making some boneheaded moves, and it's not looking good for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are also my 7th team. They blew out the Red Sox, I believe, at 13-1 on Sunday. They just pretty much massacred them this weekend, especially a terrible blunder and base running mistake in the 9th inning to end the game for the Red Sox on Saturday. So the Toronto Blue Jays, they go down a spot for me because I had a couple of teams jump up earlier in the standings ahead of them. But still a pretty good week. They did go 1-3 versus the Baltimore Orioles in a 4-game set to start the week, but did win 3 in a row, as Michael mentioned, versus the Red Sox. So 4-3 in the last week. 63-50 is one of the best records in baseball. It's actually the 7th best record in baseball. So that's where they belong, 7th. And they have the 5th best starters ERA, and that is with Alek Manoah not being good at all this year. So who's in 6th for you?
For 6th, I've got the Houston Astros. They came into town, swept Cleveland, split 2 with New York. I wish they could have taken the series from New York rather than tie it. They did have everybody, just a note here, everybody in the top 10 this week had a positive run differential for me. So it was a great week for the top 10 teams of offense and defense on both sides. Houston had a 10 run differential positive this week. So that's my 6th team. How about you, Brendan?
6th is, I think you copied my top 10 here, Michael, because 6 for me is also the Houston Astros. 5-2 this week. They swept the Cleveland Guardians, as well as a no-hitter by Framber. They would be a little bit higher, but they're only 28 and 33 against teams above 500. So they've got a losing record against 500 teams or better. Still a plus 65 run differential on the season, 5-2 in this past 7 days, only 6-4 in the last 10. They do drop a spot. I had them last week as fifth. Because, again, there was a team lower in the rankings last week that made a big jump into my top five. And speaking of top five, Mikey, who's your fifth team?
Fifth team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They move up 2 spots for me. They've got they had a positive 19 run differential this week. They did what you have to do when you face Oakland, sweep them. And as of the recording right now, they are Sunday Night Baseball against the San Diego Padres. What you think about the Dodgers, Brandon?
I have the Dodgers in fifth as well. They start my top five. They're down a spot as well. They look like they're going to go 5-1. So how can they go 5-1 and drop a spot? Well, 3 of those wins were against Oakland. But they did have a pretty good series against the Padres. They are playing very good baseball. They have the second most runs in all of baseball. But their starting pitching staff's ERA is the 19th best in baseball. So that makes it the 12th worst ERA amongst starting staff. So I think they do need to work on some things, but second best record in the NL, one of the best records in baseball, top 5, and that's where they come in for me right now. Top 5 power rankings, in fifth spot, the Los Angeles Dodgers. So number 4 in your power rankings, Mikey.
Number 4, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays. It was a rough week for them as they lost series to 2 teams that were below. No?
They won both their series.
They won both their series. I was looking at the different line there. They won both their series against the Yankees in Detroit. I see Detroit playing better ball in the future. So not really a walkover like Oakland Athletics are. What you say about the Tampa Bay Rays, or who's your 4th spot?
My 4th spot is the Texas Rangers. They were in 7th for me last week. They make a big jump up 3. Well, hard to put them any higher because of some of the teams ahead of them, but they went 6-0 this week, a 6-game winning streak. They did play the White Sox for 3 of those 6 games and the Marlins. They scored a lot of runs versus the Marlins. They have the best run differential in all of baseball, plus 170. One of the best pitching staffs, starting-wise, at least ERA in all of baseball. And they've got a cake week coming up, or at least a cake 3 games. They play the Oakland Athletics here to start out their week, and then they go to San Francisco, who's not playing the best of baseball as of late. San Fran, 6-4 in their last 10, but 3-3 this past week, losing 2 in a row to the Oakland Athletics. So Texas Rangers 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're up 3 spots for me into number 4. So that takes us to the top 3, and I'm assuming Texas is your 3rd team.
Texas Rangers are my 3rd team. They had a fantastic week for all the reasons you just said. On the week, they had a positive run differential of 25. Just obliterating the ball. Max Scherzer didn't have the greatest debut. Their big addition.
We had a rough start, and then I think he had like 6 scoreless after that.
Right. I think he rounded out with 9 Ks. So maybe just the jitters of a new team. It's his first time back to the American League since he went over and signed that big contract with the Nationals right after the win of the World Series, right?
Yep, because he was with Detroit before that, I believe.
Right. So maybe that calms him down a little bit after getting that first one out of the way. I think they're going to want to really count on Max Scherzer rolling forward.
Yeah, that's definitely a big boon to their rotation. Also, Jordan Montgomery. Again, this is post-trade deadline, our first rankings after the trade deadline. They made some big moves in the pitching staff. Also got a defensive catcher in Austin Hedges to help them with Jonah Heim's injury. So Texas Rangers are 3 for Michael. My 3rd team, staying in the same spot as last week. The Tampa Bay Rays, 4-2 this week. They took 2 out of 3 versus the Yankees and then 2 out of 3 versus Detroit. 147 run differential, plus 147. That's second in all of the AL, third in all of baseball. 68-46 is the 3rd best record in baseball, and that's where they sit right now in my 3rd spot in the power rankings. So number 2, Michael Burns. Who do you have in your top 2?
Number 2, it was pretty close for me. I have the Baltimore Orioles. They had a fantastic week, 8-2 in the last 10 games, 4-game winning streak. Their run differential for the week was a positive 27. Unreal week for the Baltimore Orioles. Um, Brandon, how about you? Who is your number two team?
My number two team, it's a change. The Atlanta Braves drop a spot. Out of the top spot, the Braves only second this week. They're down one spot. They went 3-3 this week. Still the best record in baseball at 70-39, but they're tied with the most wins. They're on a 2-game losing streak, losing 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, as well as losing 1 game versus the Angels. They have the best run differential in the NL at plus 163, second to only the Texas Rangers. They have been the best team in baseball for probably the last couple of weeks, probably the last couple of months, right? But since the All-Star break, they have not played to their potential. And my number one team, jumping ahead of them, the Baltimore Orioles. They're jumping up because of the way that they've played over the last few weeks. 6-1 in the last week, 4-game winning streak, sweeping the Mets and taking 3 out of 4 against a very good Blue Jays team we talked about earlier. 70-42 is their record, so they have the most wins in baseball, tied with the Braves. They have 3 more losses, but still, they're playing very good baseball. They're tied with the Seattle Mariners with the best record since July 1st of 22-10, plus 75 run differential. But get this, Michael, their record against teams over 500 is 46-35. So they have they're 11 games above 500 against teams that are above 500, which tells me that they're winning games against the best teams. And when it comes to the playoffs, that's who you're going to be playing. So that's why this week I've got a new number one, the Baltimore Orioles.
Congratulations. That's, I think, the first time since June that we've had movement in that top spot from the Tampa Bay Rays hot start. I couldn't move Atlanta off the top spot. I think the rotation in that lineup is so, so fear. But we're not talking about necessarily. We're talking about the power rankings is about who's hot right now. It's not about who we think is the best team. Otherwise, you just look at the standings, folks.
Right.
And that's what makes this entertaining. Is you get to hear the rationale of who's hot now. It's not the MLB standings. It is the power rankings.
That is right. So your top team is the Atlanta Braves. Mine is the Baltimore Orioles. That has been our top 10 power rankings for week 19, brought to you by 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company out of Vail, Colorado. Don't forget to go to 10thwhiskey.com. Use promo code BNB for 10% off your order. Again, a big thank you to our sponsors over there at 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company. Again, use that promo code BNB, 10% off your order. That includes the alcohol, folks. So go save yourself some money. It's good stuff. We just did a review with them, and we're going to have an interview with them coming down the pike here on our YouTube channel, as well as out there on our Spotify channel coming up soon. If you haven't followed us or subscribed to us, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page right here. We are Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast. Quick honorable mentions for me. Teams that just missed the top 10. San Francisco finished in 11th. They are up 2 spots, but some big fallers this week. I had the Diamondbacks fall 3 spots. The Boston Red Sox fall 6 spots. The Cincinnati Reds fall 5 spots. And also the Los Angeles Angels fall 5 spots for a rough week for a lot of teams, but a lot of movement. Another fun week of baseball. Looking forward to another great week with a lot of good matchups coming down the pike.
Absolutely. A lot of movement in that wild card spot. Teams on hot streaks like the Cubs.
Yeah.
Beating the Atlanta Braves in a series, and the Cincinnati Reds losing 6 in a row.
Yeah, they've really hurt their spot. The Cubs ran the Cincinnati Reds down since the start of the All-Star break. The Braves have not been great, right, as I mentioned, but still the Cubs beat them, and the Reds have lost 6 in a row. At the start of the All-Star break, the Reds had a 7-game lead on the Cubs. In the last 3 weeks, the Cubs have erased that. They're tied in the standings right now, and the Cubs are playing much better baseball. So very fun stuff out there in the MLB. Again, we are Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast. This is our Week 19 Power Rankings episode. Please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel if you haven't done that already, if you like what we do. I'm wearing one of the shirts we've got for sale. You can find that on CharlieMikeNeverWeekend.com. Michael's got a hat that he's wearing. We've got those for sale as well. Go head on over to our Instagram at Barrels and Barrels Pod, or you can buy some glasses that he just showed. We've got glassware. You can find that in a link tree on our Instagram page at Barrels and Barrels Pod. I'm Brandon Spinner. That's Michael Burns. This is Week 19 Power Rankings episode. Thank you for watching and listening as always. Michael Burns, send us home.
Let's go.